I had to use Oprah and money in the title because that will attract more attention. And I don't typically have a lot of attention or people who watch my videos or even read my articles, but today it was more important. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Roger Burnley. And I've been a lot of things, but I was a vocal coach for a long time and then turned into this mystic sage. And then I brought something to the world that could change your life and our world. So I thought I would explain it today because I have various things coming up and I do have to charge more money. That's the main thing because I was told that many years ago. Wilhelm said to me, no one's going to buy this unless you're charging $5,000 because people like to struggle a little bit. And we might see that going on in our world now. And there's a reason for that. There's nothing that's happening in our world accidentally. Everything is energy and movement and consciousness. And we are each developing it and moving it. I was just given a way to do that. And it was a long time. At 74 years old, it it took this long for it to make sense, but the world wasn't ready for it. So yesterday I was publishing something because I could feel the energies in the United States, and I wanted to explain why that was happening, so that you could have a little more clarity and peace for yourself. But so I wrote this Substack article that I'm going to talk about and go over it. But let me give you a little piece of it first of all. In 1989, I sat down and started doing automatic writing because I needed some help to find stuff. I didn't know what was going to happen. And a few days later, information started coming through. And it was weird because it felt like my something took over my hand and I just started writing. And I kept saving them. Didn't know why I was doing that, except that, wow, something's happening here. They're giving me some information and I was finding clarity and peace and all of that. But I wasn't going to tell you, and you'll see that too. And that's the other reason why Oprah was important because she explained it. She, not her, but she did an article about a sensitive, and that's a lot of mystics are like that. And so I wasn't going to talk about it. I knew what was happening, and that's just like Carl Jung too. Knowing he said, I used to believe this. He goes, but now I know. And when I heard that, I understood because you can come to this place of awareness where you absolutely know. And now I know what any person can create, and I know what our world could do if we could believe that. And it's challenging at times, especially when we've seen what was happening. Except Wilhelm gave us all the information. There was a timeline of this information. So when I started in 1989, I went through all of that. And then in 2019, I wrote a book, Overcoming Fear, A Guide to Freedom, because I wanted to talk about how they'd help me move through the fear, because that's what we all have is fear of who we are. And that's what keeps us stuck in our lives and also keeps us stuck in the world too. And that's what's going on. And when they started revealing to me what was going to be happening, and that was in 2020, that was the first time they used the word restructuring. I know that's fascinating. What's going to happen? And it made me a little nervous because I thought, what's going to happen to us? Oh, we're building a new world. That made no sense to me. I said, okay, I'm going to go along with it. And then in 2021, this was the most shocking thing. I'm out for a walk and they said, we've given you everything you needed to know in 2012. I said, I don't know that. And I come in my home and I go to my computer and I'm led to a folder. I open it up and it says Wilhelm and all these messages from 2012. And I'm talking about it and people are saying, oh, wait a minute, that's when the Mayan calendar ended and people thought the world was going to end. And I went back to look at the messages that Wilhelm gave me and they said, wait. They were saying that no, there's a different energy you can start to use now because that's how we create everything. And that energy was going to create a new world if each of us could understand who we were and let go of all the old stuff. And so I put something up yesterday too, talking about if you go to the site anyadvicefortoday.com and you put in the word remember and see all the messages that come up, it's to cause you to remember who you are. That's what they said. They wanted us each to remember who we are as humans and what we could accomplish. But we had to go through all that other stuff. And so I had to figure out, well, why did I heal? Why did I go through this process? And then they showed me I had to do all the shadow work. I had to look at all the generational trauma that was within me and acknowledge it and move through it. But see, they gave me a way to do that. I didn't understand that was happening. Then the other thing they said in 2021, was that if I were to meet someone, because there's always an energetic connection to everything, to everyone, law of attraction, however you think of it. If I were to meet someone, I would have received a message on their birthday in 2012. That made absolutely no sense to me. So, but I said, okay, I'll try it. And every time it worked. I would have people cry because they recognized something about themselves. And they said, we're doing that because we wanted you to understand that all humans have purpose. All persons that come into the world have meaning and something they're meant to do, and there's an energetic connection to all. But over the centuries, we've made something different of that. We've made some people less. We made some genders less. We've done all of that. And that's what they wanted to show me. And so this morning too, which is accidental? No. I get led to a video, just the Hermetic Code, which is what Wilhelm said that's what this work was based on. Because see, back in the Hermetic principles, we didn't have all the division and all of the different things that we have created over all of the centuries. And they said, so we've given you something new. And then in 2021, they said, we've given you a new philosophy. And it's called your life operating instructions. Because you can't keep carrying on your old ways going into the new world, because we'll destroy ourselves. That's so. And I said, okay, that seems a little bit too much. And then they said, you've got to start talking. This is in 2021. I'm sitting on my bed. They said, you've got to start channeling. So I'm not going to do that. It's going to be a little embarrassing. And they said, well, you might have to break. Because see, that was my thing that I was supposed to do. I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And then when that happened, more information started coming through. And then I started making these different connections to everyone that was what was happening in our world. And you can see their energetic shifts that have happened over time. They explained all of this too. They took me back thousands of years to say we have energetic shifts that happen over time. We're just not aware that they're also being affected by the changes in our galaxies, in our planets, and as humans, we will react to them in different ways. And this particular period is to bring up all the stuff we didn't want to look at so that we can transmute it, so that we could become something more. And I was given that. And then the result of that is you heal. And so would the planet if we did that. And I was the example because I went through all of it. I had all the illnesses, diseases, I had everything. And now what's happening, I'm just keep getting lighter and lighter and healthier and healthier. How is that? Because Tesla told us that as well. I pulled up something today because Wilhelm gave us a message. They said, you didn't believe Jesus, Buddha, or Tesla. And that's what happens. And Copernicus, they had me say that word the other day. I go, why is that? Because when he was coming up with his discoveries, people didn't believe it. And I'm giving people your life operating instructions and said, no, that's not possible. And I'm like the living example of that. No, not possible. They said because we have cognitive dissonance as well. During channeling sessions, they would always bring up Roger Bannister. And I go, why are they doing that? Because that was the guy, a British guy, who was the first one to run a sub 4-minute mile, because people thought that's not possible. And then after he did it, many people started doing it. I'm talking about all the mind-body healing and everything that I've done, and people look at me and say, no, it's not possible. And that's why they couldn't buy the program, because I'm saying, here's $1,000 and your life will be changed. No, I'm going to go and still keep doing something else. Years ago, I said, I knew I had to talk about this. I said, I have the greatest gift for you because it's going to be control of your consciousness, because we're going to move through a period where you're going to want that. Then I watched people get hypnotized into other things, and then they look at the world and say, what happened? Well, we weren't paying attention, but now we can, because now we're in a different place. And that's why I'm moving forward. And I have several events that are going to be coming up this next week where I talked about this. I I recorded those before, but they're going to be coming up this week. And I have this big event I'm going to on Tuesday where I'm going to meet all these other influencers, and I'm going to tell them this story as well. So that's why I have to charge $5,000 because it's worth far more than that. Because I could never give you how much time and effort that went into this for me creating this, but then to see that it works. So in 2021, also, when I doubted all of this, I put a bunch of people in this course. I wanted to see what would happen. They came out transformed quickly. I thought, how'd that happen? And then it freaked me out. And I stopped, I held back. Well, there are a lot of other things going on as well. And then my own disbelief. Because see, I didn't remember I had done this. I'm a pure channel and I'm receiving information that's connected to cosmic guidance. Had no clue. So what happened recently? I kept saying, well, why was I healing? And it started to, now that we have artificial intelligence, it was shown to me that Wilhelm was giving me information that was aligned with the cosmic changes that were happening in the world as I was receiving them. And that's what went into this work. And that's why it was working for me and everyone else. I could never have told you that. And so it was surprising. But I'm going to show you a little bit of this because you'll have the article. But I just wanted to talk about it first so everybody would understand it. But the visuals are always so much better when you can look at it. And it's this. Okay, so it's, oops, sorry. Let me go back to the beginning of it. You'll see the title of it is uh, I didn't recognize it when it started. Yeah, I love using this title because people will pay attention to it, but I just want to show you what you'll read. Um, in the first part of it, in 2005, I had this dream. It was vivid, one of those, you can't go back to sleep, that I was given something that I was supposed to bring into the world. I said, I'm not doing that. I wrote it down, put it in the closet, tried to forget about it. It didn't work. It's back. And so there are a lot of things that we will not believe about consciousness. That I could sit and receive information that's aligned with stuff makes no sense, and it wouldn't have made sense to me, which is why I tried to hide it for the longest time as well. Um, but then it kept showing up, and it was accurate. And this is something that I would have not known, but this is what I did. That's, I don't know, 10, 20,000 pages. I wrote it every single day. And then I started to find, again, as we received this artificial intelligence, they were aligned. And that's why I was experiencing this. But the point was, they wanted to know that everyone could experience this, because we're going to go through this big division within ourselves and also in our world, because we all have things within us that will not serve us. So then, in 2021, this is when they told me, we gave you everything in 2012. Made no sense. And then I come back and I find it. I'm finding out this is so aligned with Hermetic codes, because they said, we wanted you to get over your religion and all that has created division. Those things are wonderful, but what if you went back to the basics where all souls mattered? And that's the work that this was good. And so I didn't believe it at first, and I had to keep moving through it, and I kept testing it and wanting to know. Then when I kept healing more things and getting younger, I said, I got to give this to people. Oh, this was the message. Yeah, you didn't believe Jesus, Tesla, or Buddha either. And that's where I found this article that kind of explained me. A mystic is someone who has direct experience of the sacred. Mediated, but unconventional religion. By unconventional religion, belief system, or even intellect, a mystic lets go of the ego identity and experiences union with all that is. And that was a thing that I had to let go of, that ego thing, and it frightened me in the beginning. I'm just completely honest. So then we see all the stuff happening in the United States. I want you to understand that, because that was a focal point. But again, it was energetic. And when you understand that, you'll kind of see what's happening and where your place is. The point is, you are in the world now to reflect who you can become. And that's what this work is. Everything is energy. So if more people are owning themselves and loving themselves, that's a different energy that we put into the world and things start to change. Belief is a completely other thing because it's hard for us to believe ourselves. Every single person, no matter what it is. But what I do know, and I knew this when I started doing channeling, when I started doing private channeling as well, that every person has this something they're supposed to do, something they're meant to do. We just have blockages that have been built into us, and we know this from studying neuroscience and epigenetics and all of those things. Well, Wilhelm transcended all of that and gave me all that information. And you'll see there's some documents I put together as I started seeing this. But what's happening now is that I can no longer do it at this rate because I haven't finished it all. Because that's the biggest problem. When you don't own who you are, the money gets really bad, and I can't keep doing this. So and I'm grateful that it's opening up now. I was saying for the longest time, I've created something that can change your life, and anyone can do it. And it's only $105 a month if you want to do that. And people say that's too much for me to invest in myself. I don't think it's going to work. And that's the problem. You don't think it's going to work because you haven't done it and you haven't seen it done. Now, I can understand that you haven't seen it done because no one has done what I've done. Why I received this information. I've never studied astrology, first of all. And now it's been shown that my information, the information Wilhelm gave me, was aligned with astrological changes. I had no idea. I can go and look up a full moon or new moon. They said, yeah, these are the energies that you're going to be experiencing. And those energies affect us emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. And so when we can get a hold of that, that's what that video this morning on the Hermetic codes, you might want to look at the YouTube channel. And it was explaining just that. When you get control of your energy, everything changes. And that's what I was getting. Didn't know that it was turning out to this. You can't know when you're creating a work that has a possibility of changing the world. And people say, well, how could that be? If more people knew who they were and could become their authentic selves and live great lives, it would change the world. And the only reason they wouldn't do it is they don't want to do it. That's all. Because we have free will, but we're not going to believe certain things. And I resisted a lot. And but I'm not doing that anymore because I know what this does, and I've experienced and others have. It was just me accepting, oh crap, this is worth a whole lot of money. We have a consciousness. The money thing is what has happened. You'll read all of that because over time, money has controlled everything. And it allows us to give others more power because we think that money is the thing, material things and money, that's what gives us value. But that's a generational belief that's been passed down to many of us, especially people of color and women. And that's why, and as humans, we're not any different, except we've accepted something different. And so Wilhelm said, why don't we change that? And that's what this work does. So I wanted you to see it. I wanted you to check it out and just know it's still $1,000 now, but Monday it's going to be completely different. And you have an opportunity. I can say this because you would know when you're ready. And some people will wait until it's a lot more money and then they'll be ready. And that's fine. But it's always us holding ourselves back. And I know I've done it. But at this age, can't do that anymore. And I don't want anyone else to do that either. Because I just love people so much. And this is what's going to happen. And I love our world because I know the energies that are coming up in the next little bit of time. And so that's why it's time for us to step up to a new level of who we each are meant to become in this world. See you soon.